G'day headbangers and welcome to Dozel's Metalworks. Welcome back fellow headbangers. Well, what a week it's been. If I start coughing and my voice sounds funny, because my fiance, in her loving caring way, gave me her freaking cough. What a week, seriously, what a shocker. But anyway, got to try and make it through today without coughing too much, because today, guys and girls, I have a massive countdown. I couldn't find just 10 for this year. I have a full 20 albums, not from 1990. Now some of these albums I put in because I like just a couple of songs from it, and I haven't even really listened to the whole album properly. But I've always tried to make sure I've listened to these albums at least once, even if it's just one song I like to start with. Listen to the album to see if there's any more I like. Some yes, some no, whatever. But couldn't narrow it down to just 10, so I've had to stick with 20. So without any further ado and shenanigans, let's start. We're starting off with Against the Law by Stryper. Now, many of you guys might go, what? Stryper, of all people? Yes, Stryper is white metal. And for those who don't know what white metal is, it's Christian heavy metal. Yes, I know, it's Christian heavy metal. Sounds like an oxymoron, but there you go. Yeah, so Stryper has been around for quite a number of years, so kudos to them for sticking around for so long. The two standout tracks for me on that album is Against the Law, the title track, and the track that actually made me like Stryper from the beginning. It's an actual little compilation album years ago, but the favourite track from these guys is Rock the Hell Out of You. Absolutely pretty banger of a song. Never released a video clip for that track though. But yeah, and their earlier video clips, they had black and yellow stripes, and they look like bumblebees. So who knows? But yeah, that number 20 for the start of the list, Against the Law by Stryper. So number 19. Okay, this is a sort of interesting one. Stick It To Ya by Slaughter. It was their debut album. Obviously Mark Slaughter on lead vocals, and the only real standout track for this one was Up All Night, probably the most well-known song from that album. But yeah, and I listened to this album all the way through on YouTube, and to be honest, yeah, it wasn't anything that really jumped out at me apart from that one song that I already knew. So you know, there are better albums from Slaughter anyway, so, but that's from that year. Okay, so next one we have number 18, Flesh and Blood by Poison. Now I think, if I'm correct, this was the album that was after their best album, Open Up and Say Ah. Main two tracks for me that stood out for me is Something to Believe In. Bit of a sad bit in that song, but great ballad. And of course my favourite, and the one that probably the biggest one from that album from them, is Unskinny Bop. But yeah, that's number 18, Flesh and Blood by Poison. So number 17. This guy loved his first whole bunch of albums, so this was one of his last ones for his first Greatest Hits album, if I'm correct. And it's Eclipse by Yngwie Malmsteen. That's right, everyone's favourite Swedish guitarist. Anyway, top three tracks for this one. Number 3 is Making Love. Number 2 is Eclipse. And number 1, Judas. So yeah, it's number 17. Okay, so number 16, Beyond Salvation by The Angels. Now, a lot of you may or may not know that The Angels is a Aussie rock band that have been around since, I don't know, probably the late 70s, definitely early 80s, and yeah, this was the only album that I ever really got into. I listened to the whole album when I was young, not recently though, but they do have 4 standout tracks. Couldn't have the 3, it's the 4 that they released the singles. Alright, and that was number 4, Rhythm Rude Girl. Number 3, Backdoor Pickup. Number 2, Dogs Are Talking. And the best one, Let the Night Roll On. But yeah, it's one album I probably actually should go back and have a good listen to, because those 4 songs are great, so the album should be pretty decent anyway. So we'll have to wait and see that one. In the Heart of the Young by Winger. Now, Winger is not everyone's cup of tea. You know, wouldn't exactly call it hair metal. But yeah, just good cock rock, I suppose you'd call it. Is the other nickname people love giving it. But honourable track for this one is The Rainbow and the Rose. But the 2 that stood out for me definitely is Can't Get Enough, and my all-time favourite Winger song, Easy Come Easy Go. It's just so catchy, you know, great riff and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there you go with that one. It's Porno Graffiti by Extreme, or depending on who you ask, it's Extreme too. So they're kind of weird like that, Extreme, when they did their albums. But the honourable mention, look, the whole album is fantastic. Even the slower songs are great. So yeah, but favourite 3 are Porno Graffiti, number 3. Number 2, It's a Monster. And if you know what that song's about. Number 1, Get the Funk Out. So yeah, now Gary Cherone was great when he was with Extreme. He was on one album with Van Halen, which was a fail. But when he's with Extreme, he's great. So Tales from the Twilight World by Blind Guardian. European power metal band, probably one of the most well-known European power metal bands. This is the album that got me into Blind Guardian many years ago when I was a young lad. So top 3 tracks for this one is Welcome to Dying, Lord of the Rings, which is a nice acoustic track, a very short one unfortunately as well. But number 1, one of their best, Traveller in Time. Cherry Pie by Warrant. Now, a lot of people weren't a huge fan of Warrant. You know, Janie Lane was always said, oh, you're the Cherry Pie guy. And, you know, he copped a bit of flack for that. But if you actually sit down and listen to this whole album, it's really good. It's probably one of the best albums I've ever heard, to be honest. Honourable mention is... or it's sort of a bit different for the honourable mention, because it's actually a B-side track for the actual Cherry Pie single, but it's also available on their Best Of album, and it's called Thin Disguise. Fantastic track. Anyway, number 3, I Saw Red, based on what actually happened to Janie Lane, and when you read about why and what and all that, it's, yeah, kind of shitty, but anyway. Number 2, Uncle Tom's Cabin. And number 1, of course, had to go with it because a great video clip, Cherry Pie. Now, you remember that amazing blonde that was in that video? And for those who you may or may not know, Janie Lane actually ended up marrying that chick at one stage. Didn't last long, of course, because, you know, as Donkey said in Shrek, Hollywood marriages, they never last. You know, so anyway. Okay, now number 11. What a lovely bunch of ladies these girls are. Vixen with their 1990 album, Rev It Up. Now, a lot of people may or may not like Vixen, but these girls are amazing. I actually own their first 2 albums on CD. Great bunch of ladies. And the 2 honourable mention is Love It Killer and the rest of the album. Love my 3 favourite tracks. Number 3, Rev It Up. Number 2, Streets of Paradise. And number 1, Not a Minute Too Soon. And yeah, that was their second album for them, and fantastic. Okay, now here we go. We're starting the top 10. Now we're getting into the business end. Okay, number 10, Lock Up the Wolves by Dio. Now, haven't really been able to listen to this album many times all the way through, so only real 2 standout tracks for me on it are Lock Up the Wolves and Wild One. So a bit of a quick one there. Now number 9. Oh, here we go. From possibly the greatest thrash metal band ever, because I don't really class Metallica as thrash anymore. Caesars in the Abyss by Slayer. Now, honourable mention is War Ensemble for this one. But my top 3 are Skeletons of Society, Dead Skin Mask, and the title track, which has a great video, Caesars in the Abyss. You've got to love Slayer. Probably my second favourite album by Slayer. But yeah. Okay, so number 8. Quite possibly probably my second favourite album from these guys. Souls of Black by Testament. Now, honourable mention is Malpractice. Third favourite song is Souls of Black. Number 2 is Face in the Sky. And my favourite track is actually one of the slower ones. It's The Legacy. And one other thing I'll say about this album, it's quite possibly one of the coolest album covers I have ever seen from a metal band. These spectre looking dudes on the front, floating above water at the night and holding a heart in one of their hands. It's like, how cool is that cover, seriously? Okay, number 7. Oh, quite possibly my favourite album from these guys and one of my favourite metal albums of all time. We're talking about Empire by Queensryche. Got into Queensryche through the song Empire, through a compilation cassette I had when I was high school and college. And yeah, got into them through here. So no, the whole album is absolutely fantastic. That's the honourable mention. The number 3 is Silent Lucidity, fantastic ballad. Number 2 obviously is the title track Empire. But number 1, a song that I absolutely love with a passion, if my fiance loves it as well, called Another Rainy Night. 2 different video clips for it, but absolutely fantastic track. Almost not word for word, and I'll admit that I love freaking singing it full pelt in the car at full volumes. There you go. Number 6. Well, this is the second Aussie band in the countdown, boys and girls. Number 6, we have The Razor's Edge by none other than AC/DC, Akadaka. Alright, so look, the whole album's freaking great. Cover's pretty cool. But, you know, I had to narrow it down to my top 3, which is obviously If You Dare, Fire Your Guns, and of course, my favourite Akadaka track, and probably a lot of other people's as well, Thunderstruck. So, yeah. I mean, look, it's Akadaka. Best Aussie band, you know, deal with it. If you haven't heard it, listen to it. Otherwise, go away. Alright, now number 5. Probably first thing that's actually a sort of solo artist, singer, as opposed to someone like Yngwie Malmsteen, who's an instrumentalist. Gotta love this guy. And his first debut solo album from none other than Mr. Bruce Dickinson, and his first solo album, Tattooed Millionaire. Oh my God, what a freaking album this one was. Whole album's an absolute freaking banger. I mean, fair crack of the whip. So it was also the first album featuring Yannick Gers on guitar, who Dickinson brought over to Iron Maiden as well. So, and he's still with the band and so on and so forth, so that's good. Top 3 tracks are Dive, Dive, Dive. Now, you do need to listen to the lyrics to that song, and he's really a perverted individual, Mr. Bruce Dickinson, seriously. Anyway, moving on from that. Number 2, Hell on Wheels. And number 1, definitely my favourite, the actual title track, Tattooed Millionaire. So, yeah, video clips, that's pretty cool as well, so yeah. Okay, number 4. Wow, these guys. Now, this actually wasn't their first album. A lot of people think it is their first album, but it's not. But it's today the first album you can get readily on CD. We're talking about none other than Cowboys from Hell from Pantera. Well, what can I say about these guys? They're touring again at the moment, but obviously a lot of the people know that the brothers, Dimebag Darrell guitars and Vinnie Paul on drums, passed away many, many years ago. Rest in peace, boys. But anyway, the number 3 track, Cemetery Gates, for me, was also featured on the Tales from the Crypt Presents Demon Knight soundtrack. That's how I got into that. Actually watched the movie because of the song. The movie wasn't too bad actually, so yeah. Then of course, number 2, Domination. God, that's chunky, seriously. And of course the title track, that riff, opening riff. What a cracker, seriously. Fair suck of the Sab, what a smash. Just, yeah, whatever. So yeah, that's that, number 4. Now the top 3, all I can say is, bloody hell. These albums I've listened to that many times. If I had it on cassette, I probably would have worn it out. But I do have all these on CD. And this one I do want to get on vinyl at one stage. And that is Rust in Peace by Megadeth. Well, we all know this album. It's not this one. But, look, the whole album is an absolute rip snorter. It's freaking Megadeth for starters, but yeah. My second favourite album from Megadeth. But look, my top 3 tracks is Lucretia, then Holy Wars, The Punishment Due. But my favourite track has been for many years, probably won't ever change, Hangar 18. I'm a bit of a geek and I love my sci-fi shit, especially when it comes to dodgy government stuff. And yeah, you know, Hangar 18 is meant to be where they hold the aliens and stuff like that. So yeah, who knows? Probing time? You figure it out. Alright, so here we go. Next 2. Number 2. Oh, this one. This one I do actually own on vinyl. It's the only one I own from these guys on vinyl, but I want to expand that bit. What can I say but Painkiller by Judas Priest. By G's, by Jingo, by Crikey. This album is one of the best, I mean the best heavy metal albums ever. A whole album from A to B, it's an absolute rip snorter. But I digress for a second. Top 3 tracks, A Touch of Evil. Bit of a, I wouldn't call it a power ballad, but definitely the lightest song on the album. All Guns Blazing, great track. And then the title track, Painkiller. Now for you out there who haven't heard Painkiller and why this is one of the best heavy metal songs ever, just listening to the opening drum fill by Scott Travis. This was his debut album with Judas Priest, and fair crack of the whip, fair suck of the sap, fair shake of the sauce bottle, whatever you want to say about it. Holy shit, what an opening for an album. It just, the opening sets the standard for the rest of the whole album. So yeah, and then Judas Priest are just about to release their new album next month too. So yeah, freaking hanging for that one. But number 2, Painkiller by Judas Priest. Get into it. Now, number 1. Now, people do not rate this album highly. I rate it highly. But there are a lot of Iron Maiden fans out there who think it's one of their weaker albums. And that may be so for them. But to me, I absolutely loved it. And if you disagree with me, talk to the elbow because you're not worth the extension. So, I want to talk about No Prayer for the Dying by Iron Maiden. Yes, released in 1990 by the lads. First album featuring Yannick Gers on guitar, because A.J. Smith decided to do the Harold Holt and left after Seventh Son of Seventh Son. I don't know why. Maybe he turned into a fudsicle. I don't know. But top 3 tracks for this: Tail Gunner, Holy Smoke, and definitely my favourite track, who people might not think would be my favourite track, Mother Russia. Simple for that. Like the lyrics, but love the music on it. Absolutely fantastic. But like I said, a lot of people not a huge fan of that album, but I love it. I'm an old man. I'm allowed to like what I want. Anyway, that's a bit more comical this week. As I said, I've been sick. Cough mixer does that to someone. So, until next week, boys and girls, mosh on.